This episode of the Flush Podcast is brought to you by North Dakota Tourism, Federal Premium Ammunition, Onyx Hunt, Chief Upland, Huron, South Dakota, and by Grain Belt Premium Beer. My guest today is Brian Kelvington from Federal Premium Ammunition. We'll talk about their company hitting the century mark in a few months, new shotgun loads on the market, acquiring Hevi-Shot and Remington, and of course, the most common question in the hunting world right now, where's the ammunition?
The Flush. So fast, it hardly seems real. So vivid, the moment freezes in time before erupting in a blur of spurs and feathers. It's why we changed the way Upland loads are built with Prairie Storm. Exclusive flight control flex wad technology and a mix of copper-plated lead and flight stopper pellets combine to create dense, deadly shot streams through any choke. Longer shots, more power, fewer missed birds. Only from Federal.
If you're looking for a great bird hunting destination this season, then I strongly recommend that you consider one of my favorite places to hunt. That's North Dakota. North Dakota is a bird hunting paradise. You can hunt waterfowl and upland birds all in the same day. Ducks and geese in the morning, pheasant, sharp-tailed grouse, and Hungarian partridge in the afternoon, or vice versa. North Dakota has a population estimate of 2.9 million breeding ducks, which is 19% above the long-term average, and their prairie pothole region is smack dab in the middle of the Central Flyway. This year's drought has had an impact on North Dakota's landscape and their bird populations, but there are still regions in the state that have seen an increase in numbers this season. Yep, you heard that right. With a little scouting, you just might find yourself in the field surrounded by wild flushing birds, creating memories that will last you a lifetime. North Dakota has approximately 800,000 acres of private land open to public walk-in hunting. For the latest plots guide, visit the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. Bag your limit this fall in North Dakota. Visit legendarynd.com to start planning your hunting adventure today. Welcome to another episode of the Flush Podcast. I'm Travis Frank. I'm your host. Brandon Morton, as always, produces this program. Brandon, however, is not here today. He's no longer with us. I'm just kidding. He's just back in the Twin Cities. And I'm out in western Minnesota with my friend Brian Kelvington from Federal Ammunition. Brian and I, yesterday, we put on some miles. Any guess how many miles we walked?
My legs say about 10.
Yeah. And I think the dogs, usually they triple, if not quadruple, whatever we put on. I looked at my GPS yesterday, and I think Daisy was right around 30 miles, roughly.
They're curled up right now. Wait, I'm sure once we go open the door, they'll want to be outside, but they're curled up right now, getting a little snooze before we go out again.
Yep. We're surrounded by dogs. We're in my buddy George Lyle's man cave out here in western Minnesota, and the sun is just creeping up on the horizon. We're going to get back out there in the field. I want to start doing this. I wish I could do this every week where we go hunt and then we do the podcast. I think that would be the way to do it. Instead of coming into the office, we go and do like a tailgate show every week.
Yeah. On remote or on location are always pretty special.
Yeah. We were talking last week about doing the show, and then you said, well, I can come into the office. And I was like, well, I got a better idea.
Take the office outside, right?
Yes, exactly. So we bagged a few roosters yesterday. We watched a few get away. It was just one of those perfect days out on the
Western prairies. Yeah. And that's hunting, right? You get a few in the bag, you see a lot more go, and you just collect all the memories, and that's what's special about this.
Yep. It was like 28 degrees for a low at 9 a.m. when we walked into the field, and it never got above 42. Winds about 6-8 miles an hour at the most out of the northwest, and the sun was shining a little bit. It was just like you dream of. It was magical. And there were birds, and we're on public land.
And we probably saw close to 30 birds.
Yeah, I would guess somewhere right around there. And plenty of roosters, too. A lot of times you get on public land and people think, it's just a bunch of hens. Not the case. We will be eating well for a few meals here based on what we harvested yesterday. Was this your first pheasant hunt of the season?
It was, which is obviously late
Yep.
because of opener was a couple weeks ago, but just had a few other things that were going on that I just couldn't make it out on opener.
Well, and we were just talking about this before we turned the microphone on. The best 30 days of the year, in my opinion, are October 15th through November 15th. Everything is happening in the wild world. You've got bucks rutting, the migration, ducks and geese are, they're moving through. The grouse woods are just prime. The leaves are all down. Pheasant season's open. Fishing, if you like that.
Yeah,
Fall fishing is phenomenal. It's hard to figure out what to do. You've been in the grouse woods quite a bit. What's your year been like?
It has been magical.
Yeah.
Travis, I have never seen the volume of woodcock and grouse that we've seen in this year, and have some success as well is even better.
Yeah.
And success with friends, really good lifelong friends. And so, the grouse woods have been on fire, as you and I have talked.
Yep.
And the ticks were on fire too this year too, I'm sure.
Yeah, the ticks. What the heck is going on? Do you have any guess as to why the ticks are out of control?
I don't. I wish I did, because then I would be better prepared. But, I put the tick meds on my dogs before, like October 1st, and I've never seen them this bad before. I mean, we had one of our buddies hunting. Their dog came out of the woods and must have put her face in a nest, and they took 20 ticks off her face. It was just, you just can't make that up. And it's, if you're doing the right job by protecting your dogs before you go out, but still, all those creepy crawlies on you, and then you know how it feels like when you're in the truck and you're like, I just pulled 20 off my dog, how many are on me?
Yep.
And so then you start feeling into the scalp of your hair and all that, that feeling of those
Everything on you feels like it's a tick crawl, and all of a sudden. I was up there last 10 days ago roughly. Maybe it was the same time you were up there too, and I had my kids, and it was the same deal where I'm like, the dog comes back, she's got ticks on her, and my kids, I'm combing through their hair. It just like, I hate ticks because they can ruin your life. And it just, anyway.
More positive things.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
I mean, the dogs, the group of guys we hunted with over the 2 weeks, were just fantastic, and the opportunities were fantastic. The woods were alive. You
said you threw out a number that one walk.
I
don't know if you want to repeat it, but I'll do it for you. Over 50 grouse flushes.
40 grouse flushes and 51 woodcock flushes in one day, of about 2.5 hours in the morning and 2.5 hours in the afternoon.
That's incredible. And Minnesota gets sometimes a bad rap in the upland world for just being mediocre. And I think, this is just my limited amount of conversations with other grouse hunters in Minnesota this year, but everyone's just like, shh, it's so good out there right now. There's so many grouse, and not heard a bad grouse report from anybody in any part of the state. But
it's great to be a witness to that too, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not you get, we didn't shoot our limits. Not one person in our group shot a full limit, and nobody complained. I mean, there wasn't one person who said, I didn't leave the woods today with my limit, because what we left with were some incredible memories and experiences.
Yeah.
I think people have to put that in perspective, that a limit doesn't mean you had success. I don't know if that really resonates or not.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't diminish your success by not having a limit.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my first grouse walk of this season, which was now a few weeks ago up in northern Minnesota. I had an opportunity. Daisy's locked up on point. I walk up on her, and a true rough grouse double. You just don't get that opportunity off of a pointed dog very often. And I missed the first one. I got the second bird. But just to have the opportunity, that's what stands out in my mind. I remember seeing some of those things, but we saw just in our short walk, first walk of the season, we flushed, I think it was close to 30 grouse. And I shot 2 woodcock as well. So I left the woods that day with 3 grouse in my pouch and 2 woodcock. And I'm thinking, my goodness.
This is glorious,
This is glorious. People, I've been on grouse hunts up in Canada before, and those birds are quite plentiful. And, we're changing season now, and we've got firearms deer opener for the next couple of weeks in northern Minnesota. So it kind of feels like it'll tail off a little bit for grouse hunting, but it'll come back, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And it should. And I don't know about Wisconsin and Michigan. Those are their big grouse states, and I'm not hearing as many reports in those areas, probably because this is where I live.
Yeah.
And this
Proximity
is where my buddies are hunting, and everyone I've talked to. But not only did we see a pile of pheasants yesterday on public lands, grouse are available in public lands, and Minnesota is not a bad place to be if you're an upland bird hunter this year.
Not at all. And, for us that like to do ice fishing, right? Typically, northern Minnesota lakes after Thanksgiving, there's obviously opportunity to walk on ice. Red Lake obviously is a target for a lot of people.
Yep.
But if we can't get on ice that weekend, I'm out in the grouse woods.
Yeah.
You get your last little hurrah in the north woods for some grouse.
You've been in the outdoor industry for most of your life, or maybe not most, but quite a while. How long have you been with Federal?
I've been with Federal now 15 years,
Okay.
and then overall in the industry with my previous job at North American Hunter, North American Fisherman for about 25 years.
What did you do at North American?
I was a producer there, so I produced North American Fisherman Television, and then assisted on North American Hunter Television and the different special projects too that we worked on.
So you know what my life is about all the
Yes,
time.
I do. I do. I've lived it.
Yep.
I've lived it.
You were just saying before too, we were watching outdoor television and there's some deer hunts on there, and you're like, man, I remember sitting up in the tree filming hunts up in the tree for a week and not seeing a deer walk by.
And you think it's bad for me about the hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't. But I would bring a book and read a book, and just like you got to do something to stimulate the brain through those hours of watching and listening. But you're always, even if you're just distracted by reading a book, you're always your head's on a swivel, right? Because any little crash in the woods or any little stick break, you're
Every squirrel that walks by is a big 12-point buck.
Exactly. So you just gotta stay paying attention. But yeah, it's interesting.
You've been on quite a few adventures. Do you have any that stand out to you?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I think, I can remember trips to Panama and Costa Rica. But then, as I transitioned to Federal, we've just had so many great opportunities. One of the best hunts I believe I was ever on was at Highland Hills Ranch out in Oregon. If you're for upland, right?
Okay.
Because I don't want to say that this is the best hunt I've ever had. It's hard. This, right? Because you can categorize it. Well, I've been to upland hunt, turkey hunts, deer hunts, obviously big game hunts. I've been to Africa. I've just been so fortunate and blessed to have the opportunities through this position at Federal Ammunition and all the support of leadership and my bosses throughout the years.
What a dream job, right?
It is a dream job. I tell myself that every day. There are a lot of people lined up, Travis. As you know, you get emails about them. Everybody would like to have your job.
Yeah. And
so that's why I never take it for granted. I'm always trying to learn more, try to bring better value to the company. Being flexible, understanding change is occurring in our environment. This little thing called the iPhone, that revolution, what we're doing today, we're remote, we're working through a laptop and through some other technology. And if you don't keep up and continue to learn and be adaptive, somebody else there is behind you is looking for your job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think friendships and relationships are obviously important, like any business.
Absolutely.
And, I think it's hard for me to say exactly how I would sum up my own job. I feel like there's a lot of layers to it, but accurately communicate to people that enjoy the upland world. Even just being able to spend time in the field with you and catch up, but also talk about this industry and the changes that are going on continuously. Your world obviously has been rocked, and I wouldn't be doing my job if we didn't talk about some of those changes that you guys have gone through. And I know you've been under a lot of pressure from hunters, from shooters, but the reality is that it's changed dramatically. Are you comfortable breaking down some of these things with me here?
Sure. We'll talk about it.
Okay. The number one question that I get asked is, I go into the store and I can't buy ammo. The shelves are empty. And they say, where are you getting your ammo? Where are you getting your ammo? Where do I go? And I feel like the question has been asked so many times that people are kind of numb to it, or they're used to it. But the realities are that it's not all these rumors flying around. You guys are not selling to the government and not putting them on the store shelves, but rather, how many new shooters do we have in America?
So that's one thing that the NSSF, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, has reported. There's 12 million new shooters in the marketplace. That makes up of whether they're target shooters, home defense, hunters. There's just a whole variety of where these people are falling into the categories. But with that being said, that's 12 million new shooters that are buying guns. Guns are not functional unless they have ammunition.
Right.
So that surge, that incredible demand, has put a lot of pressure and stress on places like Federal Ammunition and some of our competitors. And so what we have seen is that incredible demand outreaches our capacity, right? And at the time that this was occurring, Remington was not operational, it was in bankruptcy, and then Vista Outdoor, the parent company of Federal Ammunition, acquired it to help alleviate.
When did you guys acquire Remington?
A specific date. It's been almost a year now.
Okay.
So, so that alleviates some of the pressures, right? Once we get that up online, and that doesn't just happen overnight. I think people think, well, we just go ahead and turn the
switch on.
There's a switch on.
Yeah.
Come on. People are smarter than that. There's supply issues. There's a supply chain management. We have to get vendors back on board because we were down at that time. So there's a lot of steps that have to occur. Anybody that's owned a business knows that you just don't switch it on overnight. So we have to, we've done that, and then through other growth, we acquired Hevi-Shot. So we're doing things through acquisitions to help expand our footprints, to help meet those capacity, those demands, those supply demands. But we're facing some of the same shortages that other industries are facing with supply chain, right? Yep. We've got. And I would encourage, before I go a little bit deeper, I would encourage people to go onto federal social channels. Our president just released another statement last week, and I'm kind of mirroring a lot of the things that he said. But Jason Vanderbrink said it directly to the consumers again, so you can go YouTube, check out the federal YouTube to watch the video. He lays it out eloquently on what challenges we have. There's some supply chain challenges that we're facing, just like everybody else is facing, with resin, copper, brass. So those things that we are facing, but we're addressing. But one thing that he also wanted to make clear is people say, well, where's all the ammo? Our companies right now are putting out double-digit organic growth, meaning we've seen efficiencies in our plant. We're putting out historical amounts of ammunition to the company has never done before, and we still can't keep up with the demand. In
your opinion, and you may know this, but you may know the real answer, but where is it all going? Is it a guy that says, normally I've got a box of shells for each gun that I own, but if I see them on the shelf, I'm going to buy them because I don't know when I'll have a chance to do it again. So that therefore this person now has 5, 6, 8, 10 boxes instead of his 1 or 2. And so that's all. Everybody then does that.
So that's all anecdotal. Yeah. I mean, I can't speak to why people are purchasing ammo.
Yeah.
We just know that when you have 12 million new gun owners and say each person buys 2 boxes to get their gun functional, and then they want to continue to operate it, that's just demand is astronomical.
Do you know who these shooters are? These new shooters? If you had to, can you find out?
Can you quantify these people? I think what we've got known is that there's some diversity into it. So we know that there's an increase in women. There's minorities. We know that through the National Shooting Sports Foundation, so some of their surveys, we know that it's a diverse audience.
Is it self-defense?
There's a good amount of that, but there's also more licenses. You know this. There's more hunting licenses being sold throughout the country. I mean, you're seeing those revenues at these different state agencies come up to fund these different projects within their organizations because of the licensing fees. So we know that, whether that's reactivation, because as you know, through COVID, people had to go outside to find recreation. There was no pro sports to go inside and congregate. So people were actually rediscovering the outdoors. So again, another factor as to why there was such a demand for product.
Yeah. Do you have an idea based on the numbers that you guys are kicking out of ammunition and now acquiring Hevi-Shot and Remington and, multiplying what you guys are putting out there? Any idea when you think you might be able to catch up?
I guess that's all dependent upon the market, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen some stories, not anything that we've communicated, but there's some stories that it might be 2023. That is all. I can't be factual on that.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't even say anything like that because that's sending some false messages. We just know that there's a historical demand. Our company has met. We're putting out more ammunition in this year and last year than this company has ever put out.
Yeah. Another thing that people have said is build another factory, and it's not that simple.
I'm going to let Jason Vanderbeek. I'm going to let him answer that. He'd answer that question in fair detail, in detail, in depth.
Yeah.
That we've acquired. Our growth came through acquisition, as well as it came through efficiencies in our plants in order to increase our output. So I'll let Jason talk about that.
Sure.
And you can go on, like I said, any of our social channels and watch Jason's explanation as to why we just don't add square feet.
Yeah. And I watched that too, and it's worth your time to go check that out. Do you guys see a certain round more sought after right now, or is it just across the board?
I think it's across the board, target shooting, and I can tell you personally because my department oversees our youth conservation program, our youth shooting and conservation program, and target loads are off the shelf, and that's because we're seeing that huge demand and that in growth in competition shooting at the high school, collegiate levels, and that's just outstanding. That's our next generation.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing a lot of pressure on those target loads.
What excites you guys about acquiring Remington and some of the loads you're going to put out, and with Hevi-Shot too?
Well, I mean, look at Remington. It's a 200-year-old company, and it has such brand power at the shelves. That green box, everybody knows that green box. And so for a company like ours, we're about ready to turn 100 years old in 2022. Now we're operating a giant like Remington, and we're ammo people, and they're ammo people, and that's all we're doing. There is just a load of excitement about making sure that those products are available to those people loyal to that brand.
Yeah. You guys, Federal, for people that don't know, is headquartered here
in Anoka, Minnesota.
In Anoka, Minnesota, yeah. And Remington is it Louisiana?
Lone Oak, Arkansas.
Arkansas, that's what it is. Okay. Do you make it down there regularly?
I've made it down there a couple of times to see the plant and meet the people that I'm working with. Our director of marketing down there is Joel Hodgson. And so I've got, I work with him on helping organize his media plan. And so, yeah, the folks there are just really appreciative that they've got their brand, their factory back up operational and putting out some of their Core Lock products. Everybody that's that iconic Core Lock.
When I was 12 years old, the first bullet through my 30-06, I remember it. I remember getting that rifle when I might have been 11 because I could legally shoot when I was 12, and I remember getting it for Christmas, and that's the first shell that I ever shot was the 30-06 180 grain Core Lock.
Core Locked, yeah.
And
the perfect mushroom in the woods, or I can't remember their tagline, but it was
something like that. But I have shot so many deer with that old 30-06, and I'm going to pass it down to my kids as they a couple years away from being able to shoot too.
We were out. This is a kind of a sidebar. We were out duck hunting last week out in South Dakota, and we had some of our Hevi-Shot new Heavy 12 tungsten loads out there. And we had a writer from Ducks Unlimited with us, and he was asking me about how often I shoot Hevi-Shot, and I'm like, to be honest, and he's like, until we acquired Remington and Hevi-Shot, I'd never put another ammunition brand down my barrel of any gun that I owned other than Federal.
Yeah,
I grew up in Minnesota, so I was 53 years old before I shot a different product down when we were down in Remington. They have a gun club down there, so we went out to shoot some trap and some sporting clays. Actually, just trap. The sporting clays course is just being finished, but we were shooting trap. And I said to somebody down there, like, this is the first time I've shot a non-Federal product.
Wow. 53, that's a lot of shots that you've fired without switching brands. Loyalty is a big thing. And, I've shot, I probably would say 95% of the time, as a kid growing up, that's what we ended up buying and shooting. And now today, the loads that are available to us to make us a better shot, doesn't matter if it's a sub gauge load, 12 gauge, 20, but I mean, just Prairie Storm, specifically Prairie Storm. When I go pheasant hunting with people, or, a lot of times it's pheasant hunting with the Prairie Storm, but I give them a box and they say, "Oh, I got some shells." I say, "No, just shoot it. Go ahead, have it. Let me know what you think when we're done." And every time they're amazed, because pheasant is a tough bird. And you hit a pheasant, a lot of times they're notorious for running. It ran away and got away. If you hit them with the Prairie Storm load, not only, and I've said this many times on this podcast too, but I feel like I've added considerable distance to my shot where I'm confident taking it, but also that bird is stone cold dead. It's not running. And that makes a big difference. And everybody that shoots it comes back and they're like, "Dang, that stuff is legit." It really packs a punch. And it does. What are some of the other loads that what are some new loads within the last year and a half, 2 years? Because some people might not have been able to shoot some of the new loads yet because, like we just talked about, they haven't been able to fire or find them to fire through their gun.
Yeah, through Prairie Storm now, it's not new, but what we've done is added the new Flight Control Flex Wad to the system, just like we did with Black Cloud. So it's a new wad. It's an iteration of the Flight Control Wad, which we first launched the product with, and it just allows that little technology increase allows you to shoot through both ported and standard chokes. Okay. So you can, before we didn't advise with the first iteration of the Flight Control Wad is to not shoot through ported chokes, because that would then retard the wads, right? And that's not what you wanted to do. So now the technology advancement, you can shoot through both ported or non-ported chokes. So that's a little bit of the technology increase that's helped with Prairie Storm. And then we put out the 16 and 28 gauge. With the popularity of those gauges, coming back up, and the gun makers making more guns in those gauges, we expanded to meet that consumer demand. 16
gauges are just the hottest right now. I mean, it's that perfect gun, because there's so many times where you're like, "Gosh, do I want the 20? Do I want the 12? And then you settle right in the middle there with the 16. It's just such a versatile upland gun. And then when you've got the loads to match it too, you can take birds down. I shot a grouse, and George and you and I were talking last night about how far the birds that we've hit. And George insists that it was 70 yards. And I took that thing down with the 16 gauge, and that's a testament to that load too. Yeah. And you're like, "I don't think you can hit one at 70 yards." But I just let George go with it on that. And
I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment. 70 yards is great, and that just validates the power, the lethality that it has downrange with that the Flight Stoppers pellet, as well as the regular the copper plated pellet that we put out. And again, the wad system, all that works together to get that edge to edge patterns. And so grouse aren't the toughest bird.
It was a sharp tail. It wasn't a rough grouse.
Oh, it wasn't a roughie. So it's maybe a little tougher.
Yeah. Maybe, though, because they're so fast, it just soared. And when it landed, it ended 70 yards, but it was probably 20.
And I don't want to, I'm not going to talk bad about the king of the woods, the rough grouse, but they can be brought down with one BB. One BB.
Yeah, that Daisy Red Rider over there to the left of your shoulder could take down a rough grouse, no problem. They are the biggest wimps of all upland birds that I've ever shot.
You said that, not me. Yeah. You said that.
However, you still have to get a BB to find them when they're flying through the woods, because they're one of the most challenging birds. That's why they're the king.
I took down 2 years ago. I you just got to shoot, pull the trigger, because you don't know. And I sawed down a tree almost in half, because you just swing on the gun. Obviously, you take safe shots, right? But you swing and you end up taking some brush on occasion. It's like, no wonder he got away.
Like last night at that beautiful golden hour, the sun is just about to sail over the horizon, and my dog is somewhere in the cattails, and all of a sudden I feel bzz, Daisy's on point. 55 feet to my north, and I walk in there, and she is completely covered in all of the cattail. What do you call that when they?
Yeah, the fluff.
The fluff or whatever. Her whole face, you can barely see it, and she is not moving. There is definitely a bird right in front of her snout. I kick the clump of cattails, and the biggest dang rooster in this county comes flying up right in front of me, and I turn, and I had the most doofus shot of the entire year, and it didn't go down, and I was like, what the heck? And my second shot just went poof, and another cattail exploded. The bird kept going, and I fired a third shot, and I never hit it. And so I'm feeling a little bit bitter right now that I left that bird out there in the field, and my dog is just, if she could have talked to me, I'm sure there would be some curse words about how much work I put in to get that shot for you, Dad. Anyway, now I'm just rambling. I apologize. You guys have a big celebration coming up here, and you mentioned it earlier, but
we do.
2022 is a big year for Federal.
Yep, Federal Ammunition will turn 100 years old. So in April, we're doing some celebrations starting, at the first of the year. Some of our, and from my perspective, there's a whole laundry list. But what I can talk to directly is that you'll start seeing our ads, whether they're in print, broadcast, digital. They'll all have a 100-year logo button on them, indicating that we're a century company, and that is just
a milestone.
It is a milestone. And I was Googling just to have kind of a stat, right? We always we like to have stats. 0.05% of all companies, according to Google, which you take it as you want, make that century mark. And so that is, it's a true milestone. It's just and it's also a very, it's just a tribute to the people that made the company. And then the consumers that have continued to buy our products. Yep. So, I mean, I think it's a whole full circle of people and brand loyalty, and then dedication to continue to build new products, to make, adapt, evolve, so that we all have the best experiences out in the woods as possible.
Speaking of new products, you guys have anything in the works that you're excited about? That you can talk about.
Yeah, there's a couple of the last couple of years we've put out some really innovative products, whether it be the Fire Stick, that new muzzleloader system, that we paired with Traditions. So there's been some really hammered down specifically. We made ammo specifically for the lever action guns to increase its feedability, and then also bullet performance. So we've had some great innovations. We do have a couple on the horizon. I can't talk about them today. Okay,
fair enough.
One of them, the release is not until SHOT Show. Okay, and so we'll have a very it's a very innovative release for that you'll find out at SHOT Show. I'm sorry being all right. But in the past yesterday we shot bismuth.
That was my next question.
We shot bismuth yesterday. That's so Federal put bismuth in its lineup as a non-lead solution for public lands we were hunting yesterday that require that. We brought back that performance. It's performance similar to lead, but more efficient than steel. We use our Flight Control Flex Wad, and it's wrapped in the Meat Eater package, the packaging. So Meat Eater's on the box. Stephen Rennell and his crew, and so we put bismuth into the market 2 years ago. Yeah,
and what are the differences in that load versus, say, steel? Because you could do a Prairie Storm steel load, and I think probably one of the most popular pheasant loads in Prairie Storm would be the number 5 lead.
The number 5 lead, yeah.
So if you're going to do a similar shot, I think a lot of people say, I'm going to go down to a 3-shot in Prairie Storm steel and feel like I'm now back to that 5.
That's similar. For bismuth, there's this similar to lead. It's near the densities of lead, and it's the pellet sizes are the same as lead.
Are they? Do you feel like the knockdown power is just the same?
Yep, I do. It's it's just more lethal than steel. So you got equivalencies of lead without that heavy metal.
Gotcha.
Because we have the same Flight Control Flex Wad system in that as well. So again, just for patterning purposes, which you should always pattern your shotguns. You know that as well.
Absolutely.
So just make sure that how wide your pattern is at certain yards, so that you take an ethical shot.
Yeah, and on that topic too, about roughly a year ago, I had Scott Carlson on, and we talked about different guns and where they shoot. I would encourage people to go back and search for that podcast, because he really has tested every single shot out there with every gun and every choke possible to figure out what makes the best shot. And he mentioned, a Benelli shoots about 6 inches low on average because of the way that the gun, it's just most Benellis end up shooting that way, so you can see your entire target when you're firing versus having to cover it up. That's the way it's designed. So if you don't shoot your gun, you don't know that. If you don't pattern it, a lot more information to go back and talk about that. But on the bismuth versus tungsten, what's the difference there?
So tungsten is heavier, it's more dense, and so it has killing power. Mm-hmm. It's also far more expensive than bismuth or regular lead. So,
gotcha.
But tungsten has got, that's what we make our turkey loads in with the
TSS.
The TSS. Mm-hmm. And it just has, as most people know, the killing power to 50, 60, 70 yards. Mm-hmm. It's just that 18 grams cc density. So it's just dense, hard, just penetrates through the soft tissue, and it's going to bring down birds. Now, it's also more expensive. We talked about. So if you're going to shoot tungsten at ducks or geese, would I shoot tungsten at a pheasant? Maybe late season.
Yep.
But early season, I would stick with more affordable solutions. But as you get late season, what's wrong? I think it would be a good idea if some people like to put their first shot in 5s, the second shot in 4s, and you have your third shot tungsten. If it gets out there a little bit further, it's no reason to stack your loads.
The second shot is the most important shot anyway.
For me, it is too.
Same here. I don't know why.
I killed my bird yesterday on the second shot. I don't know. It's just that I don't like anxiousness you get the first shot. You're like, oh, come on. How could you? I mean, it was right there, point blank, and then you just follow up.
Yeah.
I always say I scared the first one out of it, almost scared it to death. And then the second one, I scared it almost to death on the first shot, and the second shot I killed it.
Yeah. A quick message from a couple of the companies that help us to make this show possible. Onyx Hunt is one of them. Besides a bird dog, a shotgun, and a good pair of boots, the Onyx Hunt app is one of the most valuable hunting tools that we take into the field every day. I've been talking about the Onyx Hunt app since we started producing this show, and that's because I use it on every hunt. Their app tells me everything that I need to know about the lands that I want to hunt and the lands that we can all legally hunt. If you've used it yourself, then you know that the Onyx Hunt app shows your location on planet Earth and clearly lays out the land boundaries. It also tells you information about the type of property that you're on, like state-owned land, federal lands, and walk-in access properties. It's ideal for scouting before the hunt and during the hunt to help put together patterns. The app also has new features this year that show you the kind of crops that are in fields, which obviously is a big deal for us upland bird hunters. If you hunt grouse in the North Woods, there's a timber cut layer to help you find the ideal habitat. You can even separate young aspens. That's amazing. If you're planning to hunt in North Dakota this year, there's a very important layer that has been added as well. For the first time, landowners in North Dakota can post their property electronically. Onyx Maps have you covered to make sure you don't cross the line on property that has been posted electronically. These are just a few of the tools Onyx Maps give us, and these maps can even be used in areas without cell coverage. From the palm of your hand, Onyx Maps always help you to know where you stand. For generations, bird hunters have hit the fields carrying some form of a vest or game pouch on their back. Sometimes the vest rip, tear, and fall apart. Other times they are downright uncomfortable. That's why Chief Upland designed a vest that's durable, comfortable, and fits your needs. Their new Upland vest is fully customizable to fit the size and shape of all hunters. Plus, you decide where you want to attach your shell pouches and accessories. Birds can be front-loaded into the game pouch, and they fit nicely in the back without sagging. That's a big deal because the weight disbursement on your back and shoulders won't tire you out on a long hunt in the field, even with a full pouch of birds. The vest itself is extremely lightweight, weighing only 2.56 pounds. The material is built out of Cordura fabric, which is the same waterproof fabric used in tactical military gear. You can confidently hunt with a Chief Upland vest in some of the world's toughest environments. Order your Chief Upland vest now to make sure that you're ready for your next hunt. Push further and hunt longer with a game-changing vest from Chief Upland, built for your pursuit. Well, as far as the bismuth loads, what gauges are you guys making right now?
So right now the bismuth is in 12 and 20 gauge.
Okay. Plans to expand that?
I don't know the answer to that.
Can't answer. God. Everyone's like, I want a 16. I want a 16. That's, again, comes back to, well, maybe it's, I guess I shouldn't say a lot of people, but the people that I've been hunting with are just in love with the 16 gauge right now. And so they're trying to figure out the best possible loads to shoot in that. And then in a lot of public lands,
Yeah.
specifically Minnesota, where we're hunting right now, you have to have a non-tox shot.
So we do have the custom shop. So it's a separate factory within the factory. So they do make custom loads. So you can go online to federalpremium.com, look open the custom shop, and there you can most likely, and I should have the answer to this, but I don't have it, but I think you can probably have 16 gauge custom loads made if you'd like to in the non-tox. I know they offer. So that's always a solution. It costs a little bit more, but you get hand loaded from our expertise loads to your specs, and then it's tested. So you don't get it unless it's been tested.
There you go. You've been producing your own podcast now for how long?
We are on episode 28.
Oh, nice.
So
how does it feel? Do you like this format, this man cave format out here?
Normally we do ours in a marketing conference room. So this is quite the luxurious surroundings that we have today.
Ranch Lyle out here.
Oh my goodness.
It's phenomenal. What are some of so it's federal season. I've talked about it on this show a couple times too, to let people know about, because we work together on making sure that it gets out there to all of wherever you find your podcast.
Yeah, you can find it's federal season right on the Talk North network.
Yep. And what are some of the topics that you guys are covering?
Well, we've done a lot of like ambassador type. So folks that represent the company, we give them opportunity to talk a little bit more about themselves, so we can introduce our audiences to the people who represent us. We have a tech talk segment, so we do have technology talks where we bring in our engineers on every episode to talk, whether it's a new load, talk a little bit, specifically we could talk about Flight Control FlexWad when that came out. The new Flight Control FlexWad, we had our chief engineer and our product line manager on talk about the features and benefits, and they do a great job explaining it far more in detail than I do, of course. And then we've also had ambassadors like the USA Shooting. They just were gold medalist. Vincent Hancock. We had Kaylee Browning on. She was a silver medalist, and they tell great stories about their experiences and how they performed, and far depth that. We also addressed the ammunition shortage once, and we had 15,000 downloads on that. Yeah. People want to know what's going on out there. They want their ammunition, and they want it now. I don't blame them, because hunting season is way too short, and you need to go onto the field feeling good about the ammo you're shooting out of your gun. Well, being around so many shooters for so long, what's one thing that, if you could tell people that you've learned from some of these expert shooters to help become a better shot, what would that be? I think one of the things that and I got a really good tip from one of the guys. I was too much movement. So I reduced the amount of movement with your gun when you're bringing it up, and because I was bringing it too far. We were testing our new HOA. Well, we were testing our new high overall load for target shooting, competition target shooting, and we had one of our better shooters, sponsor shooters, and he was watching me, and I was hitting the clays, but he just saw there was just too much movement. And he's like, you got to reduce that because it's just like a golf swing, right? If you got too much movement, too much length to your golf swing, that just adds room for error. And he's like, there's nothing wrong with you, but I think you can improve it by less movement. You don't have to bring it from your hip every time. Have it more in the ready position and make it a slower, just a less movement. And it has helped.
Probably don't rush.
Don't rush.
Yeah. Because that second shot being our favorite shot for whatever reason, it's the first one is just a warning shot, but it doesn't have to be 2 shots to take down that bird. It should only be 1. Sometimes it is. Sometimes they get away, but really just slowing down. And I would say not shooting related, but I think I want to do a podcast coming up here talking about how to become a better pheasant hunter, upland hunter in general. And when people ask me, what's one piece of advice you'd give? And I try to do this myself. It's very difficult because my dog wants to run 40 miles in a day and she's constantly screaming through the fields. But slow down. Yesterday it was a prime example. That one rooster you shot, we come over this little berm and the grass kind of tapers down on the backside of the hill. Wind was in Daisy's face and she locked up on point. And I'm pointing to you. You're about 60 yards to my south. And you walk up there and she kind of creeps up and then she locks up again. And the grass wasn't extremely thick there, but it was thick enough. And she was on point. Your dogs come up and then they all just started to look for this bird. And we had given up, essentially.
Yeah.
Thought, well, that thing ran just like some of the others. And we were standing there for, Brian, I want to guess 3 minutes.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. 3 minutes.
And then a rooster comes up within 5 feet of your feet.
And the dogs were in the area. They had worked it hard. And they were all birdie.
Yeah.
Birdie
And
is
then they
get
gave up.
And they gave up. And so how does that bird dive so deep that our dog, and we have good dogs.
Yeah. And Daisy was certain of a bird being there. She didn't move. She locked up. She held on it. You came from a little ways away and we walked in on her together and she knew it was there, but then all of a sudden said, all right, I'm going to go look for something else. I don't understand. We talked about that too. Why did any of the dogs give up?
I mean, Mocha, my little female, she had her nose down underneath trying to push whatever it was. And Cusco, he's a brute. So he just pushes through anything. But yeah, and they just, and then
with 12 legs walking around there, well, actually 16 with ours.
Yeah.
We had to have stepped on the bird the amount of time we spent walking in that clump of grass and it didn't get up. And then all of a sudden, I mean, that was an old, wily rooster. It was not this year's rooster. He shot a big old bird there, but it goes back to what I was trying to say earlier about slowing down, because can you imagine how much time we spent there? And if we would have just given it the regular, well, the dogs moved on, we're going to move on too. That was a happy accident that we decided to just take a little moment to appreciate what was all around us there. And then the bird decided, oh crap, I'm going to get out of here now.
Something has got me triggered to get up, because most of the time those birds get up behind you and you just like, they're giving the tail fit.
Or they don't even get up.
They don't give up.
You'd have no idea that you just walked past them. And I'm sure we did that dozens of times yesterday, but slowing down.
Yeah. Slowing down
applies to your shot. It applies to the hunt.
I would agree with that. Just also, it just gives you more time to take things in too, as well, make more analysis of the situations. Yeah.
Well, Brian, the dogs are getting a little restless, as you heard the banging over there, but I think it's time for us to jump back in the field here.
What a pleasure, Travis. First of all, thank you for inviting me out this week, because
this is way better than the studio talk.
The office has a view to it that's a little bit more pleasing than cardboard, or not cardboard, but wallboard walls.
Well, I appreciate you being kind of hunter like me, where you just like to go and be out there, and you've been game for it. We put on a lot of miles yesterday, and it's a lot of fun to hunt with somebody that they just like me. I just like to go. And what we talked about on the drive out here was I've hunted a lot of different public properties around Minnesota, and I said, "Are you okay if we go to some place that we've never hunted before?" Because to me, that gets me excited. I love going to places that I've been with other people, but if it's me going out on a hunt, I almost never go to the same spot twice. And yesterday we went to land that you and I have never walked before. First walk, nothing. Second walk, had a couple of birds get up, and I didn't shoot one rooster. I probably should have, but it was into the sun. I couldn't differentiate. For sure was a hen. So that one got a free pass, and we saw some there. And then all of a sudden we got into them. And I think the key for us yesterday was we just assumed cattails because pheasant hunting,
Yep.
And that wasn't the case. It was a beautiful day. They were almost like sharp-tailed grouse. They were sitting in the thin grass on top of hills, just loving life.
It's like they were out suntanning yesterday for some reason. And it was weird. So it was a good learning experience because some of that land, traditionally I would walk by and say, that's not going to hold birds today. You shouldn't hold birds, right? And they did. So it was a good learning experience as well.
Yeah, and if you're going to be hunting in the next few weeks, and our forecast here, if you're listening to this right now and you're going pheasant hunting in Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and the temperatures are going to be in the 40s, 50s like they're calling for, and it's sunny and nice, you don't have to go into the cattails. And you can go have one of those dream hunts that you wish you could have all year long in the thin, beautiful prairie grasses where you can watch your dog and actually see them. And Daisy locked up, I don't know, dozens of times yesterday. It was so fun to watch her. I let her just roam out a little bit further, and she had her puppy mistakes again, but she still locked down a lot of birds. We kicked up right underneath her snout, and that's fun. And your dogs did too, and makes for a great day. So I think 3 out of every 4 birds we saw were in thinner cover, which is great.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that's what we get to experience here shortly.
All right, Travis. Well, thank you. I look forward to spending the day with you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for making the time. And as always, thanks for the support of, allowing us to make this podcast and our TV shows, because without your support, we wouldn't be able to do it. We wouldn't be able to bring this content to people and show them different places around the country that they can hunt. And speaking of that, our television shows are airing right now on the Outdoor Channel, and they'll be streaming soon. I know a lot of people are streaming these days, and the emails keep coming in. When are they streaming? When's the next season going up? And to answer that question again, it would be the first week of January. A new season will start streaming on our YouTube channel and as well as Amazon TV. And I do want to remind people that we're selling flush hats and buffs, and you guys are partners with us on that.
Yes.
So we appreciate that. We had a nice run. We had a limited supply that we made the first time this spring, and we sold those, and then we gave all the money to Pheasants Forever's Build a Wildlife Habitat area, and we're doing that again. So you can head to our social pages to learn more about that. They're nice hats. It's got the federal logo on the back and the flush on the front, and we appreciate your support for that. Anybody wants to, they can head over there now. I've been told that it's a limited supply again, so get there quick so that you don't miss out on the opportunity. And then who knows, maybe next year when we come back with different variety hats. So we've had people ask us, I want a blaze orange option. So we're going to probably come up with that. And next week I'm going to be... I don't know what I'm going to have next week. I think I'm going to do another bird country. I mean, it's hunting season right now, so I'm trying to give live updates as close to live as possible from different places so people can get in on this action. And right now, like we mentioned right off the front, Minnesota is a great place to be, as well as pretty much any other state right now. It's the best time of the year.
Yeah, it is. And, we're here in Lincoln and Lyon counties, and there's just a lot of public land and opportunities for people to get out, stretch their legs, stretch their dog's legs. I can see Moke over there. She's ready to go. Yep,
we got to go. We're doing it. I'm Travis Frank, reminding you to take the time to introduce someone new to the field.